on the screen, you can see Dr. Mary Ann Musa, and we can let her take over and introduce herself. And we're going to learn a lot about, well, I'm going to let her tell you what we're going to learn about.
All right.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Joni. It's such a pleasure to be here with all of you today. It's so exciting, and I'm really appreciative to be here. What I was going to talk about today is alkalization and how that's the key to digestive health, immune function, and sports performance. Just so you have a little information about me, I'm a chiropractor. I've been a chiropractor for 20 plus years. I'm a registered dietitian. I've been a dietitian for 30-something years, and I have 6 children. So their ages range from 23 down to 12, and they're all athletes. So it's a pleasure to get to speak with athletes and to help share some of the things that we hopefully can have some fun doing today. These are really uncertain times, and I think during times of uncertainty, it's really not comfortable. I have some notes here so I can stay on track for you guys. We know that that's not comfortable, and there's a lot of things that we cannot control. But what I try to have my athletes focus on are the things that they can control, and then try to optimize those. So what we're going to do is have some fun. I'm going to try to get you to learn how we can control certain things like your digestive health, like immune function, and of course, as we were saying, sports performance. Something really important to keep track of, though, is that understand that viruses, in the time when everybody is really concerned about what's going on, viruses are pH sensitive. So if we can help alkalize, we may be able to decrease the environment that they would grow best in. So that's really, really going to be helpful for everybody. And I talk with my hands like he was saying before. So what does that say about me? We're trying to be enthusiastic for all of you. So let's just see. When I work with athletes, what I find that their goal is to improve performance. And what they oftentimes express when they want to improve performance, they want to increase their time to exhaustion, and they want to decrease their recovery time. And that's something that there's things within there that you can control and help with that. They usually come up with a training plan, which is really important. But what they also do, and what I try to help them with, is you need to find habits that are going to support and optimize what you want to get out of your training. And the things that you can use to support that, number 1, proper nutrition. Number 2, sleep. Number 3, mindset. And the mindset is going to help with managing stress. We all have stress, but in order to manage this stress, the mindset is going to play a role in that. And then improving immune function, which really is intertwined with all of those. Because if an athlete is sick, you're not going to train as well, you're not going to perform as well. So if we can go through some things that you can use to improve your control over all of these issues, it's going to really help you and of course help your performance, which is what we want. So oftentimes they come up with regimens for their training. Also nutrition as far as food, and what we know too is supplementation. And we're going to touch on all of those. So let's get started. Okay, because I'm excited to have some fun with you today and have a lot of visuals so that it really will sink in. We're going to talk about pH. And I have a little chart here for you just to know that when we're talking about pH, you can probably see these colors. We're talking about a range that goes from 1 to 14, excuse me, the pH scale. 7 is neutral, usually around green, the greenish colors, okay? When we look at something that's very acidic, it's on this side, and with the acidity, it's usually orange or yellow. When we move to something that's more alkaline, which remember, that's what we are striving for, and we're going to explain that real clearly, those numbers are usually darker, like the blue and the purple. So understanding that, my goal today is to help you understand the value of the pH in your body and how you can use that to optimize your performance, as we said. So think about what percentage of your body is water. Okay, probably around 60%. There's differences in different organs, but if you look at the body overall, about 60% of your body is water. Where do you think that water is? Okay, the water is in your bloodstream. The water is in your organs. But then there's water that's throughout your body. And I think of that as bathing your cells in this interstitial fluid. So when we look at the blood, the pH of the blood is not going to change. Your body will do a lot of different things to allow that pH to remain the same, because that's vital for life. But the interstitial fluid, the fluid that's bathing your cells, the pH of that can fluctuate, and you can play a role in that, all right? Let me give you a little example. If I take this can of Coke, the main ingredient in this Coke is phosphoric acid. So let's call it what it is, acid, okay? When we're looking at this acid, if I had someone go outside and take this can of Coke and pour it all over the hood of their car, what would happen? Not only would you be in panic mode, but what would happen? It would probably eat through the paint. So we understand how concerned we would be if somebody took this and poured it on their vehicle. But then I have a soccer player who may take a can of Coke and pour it into their body. What do you think happens when you take something very acidic and pour it into your body? Just think about that for a moment. The body goes into crisis mode. Can you imagine? It goes into crisis mode. Why? What is it going to do with something this acidic that would probably eat the paint on your car, right? So what does the body do when it has a toxin like that that's so acidic? Well, number one, it uses minerals. Minerals can help buffer the acid. So the first thing, it pulls minerals out of our bones and out of our muscles. Can you see how that might make our structure weaker? Okay, so number one is going to pull these minerals. The second thing that it does with acid is it puts it where it puts all toxins in our body. Where does our body place toxins to protect itself? It places them in fat cells. So it takes the acid and puts it in fat cells, so it protects the rest of the body from that acid. So when you're thinking about that, it explains why many people who are consuming highly acidic things like this may have a weaker structure, yet become bigger and bigger. And we see that a lot in our society. So let's think about, besides something like this, what kind of things contribute to acidity in someone's body? Well, number one, it may be foods. What kind of foods? Well, sodas, coffee, tea, alcohol, very acidic. Not that children are having that, but it's important to know that for our parents and the adults and our coaches. And something like Gatorade. And we're going to look at all of these things. Also, what is a protein? Proteins are made up of amino acids. So sometimes if people are taking an excessive amount of a poor quality protein, those excess amino acids are going to contribute to the acidic load. What other things can increase acid in our body? How about stress? How about exercise? All of you athletes understand, what do we produce when we exercise? Even though exercise is very good for us, we produce lactic acid. So it's not that that's terrible, but we have to understand that that is a byproduct of exercise, and we need to see what we can do to help, because it's contributing to the acidic load in our body. And then even just metabolism. Think of your cells like little cars, and as they do their job, they're producing exhaust. And that exhaust is acidic. So even as our cells go through the normal processes throughout the day, they are also contributing to the acidic load. So think about that. And what can we say would be the effects of this acidity in your body? Well, we already talked about people getting bigger, and we see that in our society. People are consuming a lot of acid. They're getting heavier. So people are getting bigger. Those fat cells are getting bigger. And because the body's trying to buffer that acid and pulling minerals from our bones and our muscles, the structure is getting weaker. So if the structure is weaker and the person's bigger, that has a huge impact on how you carry yourself. And as an athlete, we're looking to prevent injury. We want the structure to be strong, and we want the body to be fit. So those are two of the things that happen though when someone's acidic. The next thing, when someone's very acidic, it really increases inflammation. And from my standpoint with inflammation, say with my patients, inflammation is going to cause pain in joints or pain in muscles. Another thing that inflammation does is it can increase blood pressure. So just keeping that in mind, acidity increases inflammation, can increase discomfort, pain, and can also increase blood pressure. Another thing that a lot of people don't realize is that in order for blood sugar to get into the cell, it has to use a receptor, and it uses insulin. If someone's very acidic, the insulin doesn't work as well as it should at that receptor. So what happens is blood sugar oftentimes can stay high. So for people who are concerned or have issues with blood sugar, being very acidic can keep that blood sugar high, which is not what we want. Now for athletes, this is my favorite one. When someone is very acidic, understand that the oxygen saturation at muscles and tissues is decreased. So if someone is very acidic, you're going to have less oxygen at the muscles, which would do what? As all of you athletes would know, that would increase fatigue. It would cause exhaustion. You would not be able to perform. Those muscles are not going to be able to perform as well as they would if you weren't very acidic. So that's a really, really big deal. The next part about that too is when someone's really acidic, they have less energy. Eventually they end up with many health problems, chronic health problems. Acidity, inflammation are the cause of so many health issues. So we're going to go over ways today that you can improve that. People are healthier when they are alkalized. So we're going to look at a few drinks, and I'm going to let you see the visual on whether these drinks are alkaline or acidic. Okay, and we see the little list here. Remember, the acidic ones are going to be red or orange when I put the reagent in, and I haven't done that yet, but we're going to look at some water. So here's some Aquafina water. Okay, and let me ask you a question as I'm pouring these out. How many of you read labels? And I think as athletes, you probably do. It's a very good thing to know how to do. So reading labels is important. How many of you have read a label and saw what the pH is of the food that you're about to consume? Think about it. Probably not many, right? You don't usually see the pH of a food listed on the label. Next one, so I had another water, Dasani water. Now we have some Sprite. I tried to get all clear liquids so that you can really see the color change. So here's some Sprite, okay? So we can't really see, even if people sometimes are trying to do really well and they want to get foods that are maybe more alkaline, sometimes they really just don't know because it's hard to know just from a label. Alrighty, and here's some Gatorade. And you know a lot of athletes that consume something like Gatorade, and we're going to look at that. So now the reagent is nice because what the reagent does when I put it in, it interacts with what's in there, and you can see a color change, so we can tell whether something is acidic or alkaline. I'm going to put some reagent in each of these. Look at the color change. Now, is this maybe a little bit of a surprise to some of you? Look at that. Water. Water, do you see the yellow? Both of the waters. And then we have Sprite and the Gatorade. So all of these drinks are acidic. And it's probably what you would think, like most of us would think, well, water, you would think that it would be more in the green range, like more neutral. But it's very eye-opening to realize that a lot of times the waters that we drink are acidic. So I'm telling people all day long, drink more water, you need to drink water. But sometimes the water that they're bathing themselves in is acidic. So we need to look for ways that we can buffer that and help with that. Let's see, I'm just making sure that I'm touching on everything. Let's remember something. You see that all of these products are acidic. I'm sorry.
I just said mine isn't because you fixed it for me.
That's right. And we're definitely going to go through that. So when we look at these, all of these are acidic. Now remember what I said about acidity, and I'm repeating it on purpose. When someone's acidic, they get weaker because they're pulling the minerals out of the bones and muscles. They get fatter because their body's storing the acidity in the fat cells. We see an increase in inflammation, which causes pain at the joints and muscles, and also can increase blood pressure. We also, when someone is acidic, blood sugar stays in the blood instead of getting into the cells, so blood sugar remains high. And very important for the athletes, you have a decrease in oxygen saturation at your muscles, where you want full amount of oxygen so you can perform optimally. So when we're looking at this, now what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to get into a lot of details. I think a couple of things that I said before. When you want to correct, and when an athlete wants to take control of their health, they want to eat really good, healthy foods, and you do need to find a supplement. I don't care whatever supplements you decide on using. I've researched ones that I use with our athletes, with my family. But what I want to use today is one of those, because I want to show you the difference when we alkalize. So we have a drink that we use for pre-workout because it's loaded with minerals. So what is that going to do to the acidity? It's going to buffer the acidity. And it also has a patented product that we have that increases alkalinity as well. So I'm going to put this in, and let's just see the effect on these drinks, and then we're going to have some fun with it too. All right, so I'm going to put some in these drinks, some in here. You're going to look for a color change to see if these. I'll stir them in a moment. Okay, I'm putting more in these two last ones for a good reason. Okay, I put a lot more in there, guys. Can you see the difference when we alkalize? Look at that. So if you're taking in something that is going to help you alkalize, you are changing that acidity, and now the body can function more optimally. Now you can increase oxygen saturation at your muscles, especially if you take that. I usually have people take that about an hour before they exercise or perform, especially. But look at these two. Alkalizing, did it even change the Sprite or the Gatorade? It didn't change them at all, right? And an interesting fact, because I have a lot of parents that will think, well, I'll let my child have Sprite instead of other soda. And I couldn't show you the Coke or other ones because of the color. I had to use clear liquids. But in order to buffer 1 cup of Sprite, it takes about 32 gallons. 32 gallons of water. So if we're putting this in children or in adults or in athletes, understand that that's really contributing to acidity. And when we look at older people, we wonder, why is there such an osteoporosis problem? Understand that acidic things demineralize those bones. And as an athlete, you want to start now improving that and avoiding something like that. Now let's look at the Gatorade. Look at how acidic this one is. So what did we say before? Acidity decreases oxygen sat at a muscle. So do any of you know athletes that use Gatorade when they want to rehydrate, when they want to get some electrolytes in? Okay, when we think about that, you have an athlete who's performing. So they're producing lactic acid already, so they're probably very acidic already. Do you think adding more acid is going to allow them to function optimally longer? Is that going to extend the time before they fatigue, or is it going to increase the speed with which they start to fatigue? Can you see how this may be a little more harmful than helpful? Because we probably have all seen athletes, including professional athletes, consuming something like this. And I just like you to make good choices. So if you have that awareness, you can decide, wow, is that something that I may want to change instead of consuming something like that? Now let's get something that is really neat. Here's the Gatorade. Let's say I'm just going to take 1 spoonful, which isn't even a mouthful, all right? Let's put it in this water, allowing this water to maybe represent our body that we're really trying to alkalize. If I take 1 spoon of the Gatorade and put it in here, look what happens. It caused, that's that acidic that it totally changed that. And we can try it with this Sprite as well. But for athletes, I'd like you to really know, again, taking control of your health. We can look at it with this Sprite as well. Isn't that eye-opening? I hear you guys. I can just feel your energy. And I know that you're amazed, because this is really helpful to know and to see what we're doing. And it may help us to make better choices, or may help us to supplement better as well, so that you can turn this, like Joni said, if I give her a supplement that's going to change this into more alkaline, so that when she goes out and runs, she's going to be able to run a much longer distance without fatiguing. That makes a big difference in our health, even when you're looking
I've
at
already done it. I've already done it.
Have you changed have you broken personal records?
Twice.
Twice. By changing to something that's going to help with alkalizing. So that's a big deal. Thank you for sharing that, Joni. So we understand that acidity is a problem. We've already gone over why. We understand the need to alkalize. I'm going to move these aside so that I don't knock them over. Okay. So what is it that we can do to alkalize? First of all, we can avoid things that are acidic. And I think you have a clear picture of that. Another one, I have it here too. Coffee, tea, soda, alcohol we talked about too before, Gatorade. All of these things are very acidic. I'm going to show you, well, I'll show you this in a moment. Remember what I said before too though. High protein, more than your body can metabolize at one time. Proteins are made up of amino acids. So if the protein is, if you have too much protein that your body cannot even assimilate so fast, that acid is going to contribute to the acidic load. We also need to de-stress. Remember we talked about mindset contributing to that and helping with that. So things that we can do, I'm going to show you this example. I have 2 eggs here, okay, in this little bowl. I have a regular egg, and I'm going to crack it right here in front of you guys, okay? So we have an egg, a whole egg, and then we have a scrambled egg. If you wanted to make a creme brulee, which is a really fancy dessert, do you think you'd be able to use the scrambled egg to make that dessert? Or would you have to start with what's raw, the raw egg? The raw egg is non-denatured. The structure of that is not changed. And I'm going over this specifically for a reason. When you denature a protein, you can do that with heat. You can do that with something very vigorous like a blender. When you denature the protein, it changes and it can never go back to its non-denatured form. And what I find with a lot of athletes, they're using protein supplementation that is not the highest quality for what they're trying to do. And sometimes it's in excessive amounts that your body really can't use. So again, that's going to more contribute to the acidic load, and any excess in a macronutrient is stored as fat. So this non-denatured protein is what we are looking at. And when I make recommendations to my athletes, I want non-denatured whey protein that is cold filtered, which means it wasn't heated, so it's not changed. I just find that sometimes a lot of athletes don't really understand that, and I really want you to, because you really want to make good choices. So you sometimes can lower your protein if you're improving the quality of it, and you're going to get the excellent results that you're looking for. So that's a really big one when we're looking at that. Let's look at some other alkaline foods for a couple of minutes because it's really important. I showed you bottles of water that were acidic. Understand that mineral water would be a very good choice because mineral water, having the minerals, it's more alkaline. But I do want you to understand this. If you do that, oftentimes the mineral water, not only is it very expensive, but it's only getting you maybe to a little bit more than neutral. It's not super alkaline. So like what I gave Joni, that's going to help her to break personal records, is a little more potent because you really want to alkalize. And the mineral water is expensive, better choice. It's expensive though, and it isn't really going to, really make a huge difference because you're diluting it in your whole body. And if you're acidic, it's not going to change it as much. But there are some foods that I really want you to know. All right, what are some of the foods that are alkaline? We have things like, I don't know if you can see these, like kale, spinach, dark green leafy vegetables, excellent. Things like apple cider vinegar, okay? And this is in some supplements too. Leeks, lemons. Although we think of lemons as like acidic, when they go into your body, they actually function as an alkaline source, an antioxidant and alkaline, which is real helpful. Things like onions, and I tried to get some different foods for you. Green tea, carrots, raisins, celery, cucumbers, peppers, garlic, okay, all the health benefits. And what I want to ask you a question. On all of these products that I'm showing, spinach, one thing I want you to realize is, do any of these require a label? I told you before how label reading is really important, but the whole foods that we want you to consume don't need a label, right? God made them. They have amazing things in them. And even as a registered dietitian for over 30 years, I know that there's some things in these foods that man has not discovered. So supplements, you know, things like vitamin C, which we're all hearing about. Vitamin C is very important right now when we're looking at boosting our immune system to fight whatever we come in contact with. Vitamin C doesn't work by itself. If somebody is only consuming vitamin C, guess what? Probably coming out the other end. But what we want to do is allow vitamin C to work in its normal environment with all of the coenzymes and minerals and everything that it needs to function optimally. And you get that when you use whole foods. So raw fruits and vegetables are the way to go. The other thing is, if you use supplements, because like I said before, unfortunately, our fruits and vegetables are not always as nutrient dense nowadays because the soil is kind of mineral poor. You do have to supplement. So when you're looking for supplements, choose ones that are whole food based so that you're really getting all those other nutrients in there that man may not know to put in. So that's a big deal. So as we go from here, the next thing that I want to go through is we're going to summarize this part, and we're going to go into the digestive system, which is one of my favorite things. But I do want to share something with you because in the supplement that Joni uses, when you're looking at supplements, you can't only look at the ingredients. And I'm going to give you a good example. I have a pencil, and we'll pretend that this is a diamond, okay? The pencil point here is graphite. Graphite is made of carbons. This diamond is also made of carbons. So we have a pencil point and a diamond, both made up of the same thing. What's the difference in value of a pencil point versus a diamond? The value is totally different. So what sets the diamond apart from the pencil point, made up of the same thing? It's the structure. The structure of these carbons is what makes a diamond so much more valuable than a pencil point. And I share that with you because when you're using supplements, for example, minerals, you can get minerals anywhere. And that's good, and it's good for you. But we have a specific supplement that is patented because, not because it's just a bunch of minerals, well, that's great, but it's different because of the structure of those minerals and how that has a much greater effect on your body. And we'll talk about those a little bit later if you're interested. But I'm not here to show you that, but I want you to be aware when you're out purchasing things and you're trying to do your best. I want you to know that there's more to it than just a list of ingredients, or more to it than just the whole foods. We need to have those, but we also need to do more things too because of the soil. So from here, let's summarize this part. Remember that I said viruses are pH sensitive. They're going to live better in acid. We want to alkalize. And what are the benefits of alkalinity? We'll summarize this now. It pulls the acid out of the fat cells so someone gets thinner. It prevents, or I should say protects, the minerals in your bones and in your muscles so you stay stronger. So we improve this structure, and for an athlete that's important, and we decrease the acidic waste that's being stored in your body, in the fat cells. For your joints, the alkalizing is going to decrease inflammation, so it'll decrease pain in your joints and in your muscles. And inflammation is such a problem in so many areas that that's going to help everything. When we decrease acidity and by alkalizing, we can improve blood pressure if that's the cause for it in that person. We can, biggest thing, when you alkalize, you're increasing oxygen saturation at the muscles, and that is so amazing because you're not going to fatigue as fast. Your muscles are going to be able to function. You're not going to burn as much, and then you're going to improve your recovery time as well, which is why somebody like Joni breaks personal records when she alkalizes, especially before and during exercise. And there's many different things too that go into that. And I will get into that with you. The other thing, and a lot of times people don't realize this too, but when you alkalize, you increase your energy, you increase your mood, and that's going to have an effect on your health. So we talked about food, we talked about decreasing stress, we touched on supplementation a little bit too. The next area that I'm excited to go through with you is the digestive system. And as a dietitian, I love the digestive system. I'm just gonna leave these here. I love the digestive system because it, of course, as a dietitian, that's my forte, but it has an impact on every area of your body. 80% of immune function is in the digestive system. So that's a very big deal. Many athletes have digestive issues through my experience, and they oftentimes don't talk about them. They oftentimes don't know what to do about that. And it has an impact on how they're using nutrients, and it also can have an impact on their immune function. And like we said before, if you're sick, you're not going to train as well, you're not going to perform as well. So we want to optimize every aspect of that. There's a huge thing with immunonutrition, especially for athletes, and we're going to get into that a little bit now. So the purpose of our digestive system, the purpose of that is to take whatever food you put into your body, break it down into its smallest particles, take that and absorb it, and then allow your body to utilize that for whatever it needs. Okay, so that's the main function of your digestive system. Something really important about that is that it's very selective in what it allows to be absorbed. You don't absorb everything. Your body may break things down, but if it isn't good for you, typically you're not going to absorb it. And that's typically in the small intestine. So when we're looking at that, what I find is that many times the digestive system is not working perfectly. And people don't know why, but let's go through that. Why would your digestive system not work right? Specifically, I'm talking about your small intestine. After your stomach, food goes into your small intestine. In your small intestine, things that might damage that could be meds. So it could be antibiotics or antidepressants. The other thing that can affect your digestive system are pesticides, like glyphosates that come in on the foods that you consume. You have to be real careful, especially with these raw fruits and vegetables, right? Other things are chlorine, water, fluoride. Fluoride is very good on your teeth, but not for you to ingest it. And the thing that really, really affects it can be artificial colors, artificial preservatives, and artificial sweeteners. And oftentimes those are in processed, boxed foods. I always say those are things that are made to look like food, but they're really not food. When you look at the ingredients, you usually don't recognize most of the words that are on there, right? So they're things that really are not very healthy for you. But those type of things can affect your digestive system. On a really bright note, there's many ways that you can heal your digestive system, and that's what we're going to go through. So let's talk about that. If you have a digestive system that's kind of harmed, and we consume food, I'm going to have you visualize something with me for a minute. Think about this. You have food in your digestive system, and your digestive system is not working as well as it should. It's not as selective, which means it allows things to leak through that shouldn't. That's called leaky gut syndrome. And so if these foods are in your digestive system, and some of them are supposed to come out the other end, all right? Go there with me. Think about that. They're supposed to come out the other end, but they're in there and you have leaky gut, you're now absorbing those foods. If you absorb things that you're not supposed to, can you see how that can lead to inflammation? We've been talking about inflammation and how detrimental that is to your health. So if someone has leaky gut, they're absorbing things they shouldn't, and it can create inflammation throughout their body. And that is just not healthy. It can cause numerous health problems. And very, very importantly, when things are absorbed into the bloodstream, some of that blood, after it hits the liver, it goes to your brain. So the brain is very closely connected to your gut. And I want you to understand that that can cause mental health issues, or it can contribute to them when you're absorbing things. So whether it's depression or anxiety or things like that. And remember, we're trying to get that great mindset so that you are managing your stress and you're able to function. Taking care of this gut is going to have a big impact on your mental health, especially when people are all stressed out. So let's look at this. I'm going to give you an example of something that I see in my office all the time. One of the things that I see is an issue with yeast. So in our digestive system, there's a balance between bacteria and yeast. There's really good bacteria that you need, and there's yeast. If for some reason there's a disruption in that, let's say a food, meats that have antibiotics in them, let's say a food that has an antibiotic gets into your system, and it changes that ratio, and it wipes out that good bacteria, now yeast flourishes. So let's talk about that. Guess what yeast lives on? Sugar. Do you know anybody who craves sweets? Oftentimes yeast can contribute to that. Yeast lives on sugar, and yeast produces gas. Think about it in bread, right? When yeast is in your system, it can produce gas. When it does that, these are the people that after they eat, they feel so bloated. And that used to be me. I would eat something and you just feel bloated. Well, oftentimes it's because yeast is consuming all of that sugar, and guess what? Causing a problem. Yeast also secretes toxins, poisons, and those poisons can get absorbed into your body and through your digestive system. And guess what happens? It can cause extreme fatigue. You know anybody who's exhausted all the time? Yeast can cause headaches. The toxins can cause headaches. Yeast, the toxins from the yeast can cause people to have an inability to focus, like an ADD, ADHD. And don't start pointing fingers at your friends, okay? We don't want to diagnose, we don't want to point fingers, but what you want to do is connect the dots for people. Who would think that all these different symptoms can be connected to your gut? So again, like I said, when the toxins that are absorbed can cause fatigue, can cause headaches, can cause an inability to focus, that mental fog. The other thing is sometimes your digestive system, not only does it detox through the digestive system, but sometimes it detoxes through the skin. So if someone has acne, psoriasis, or eczema, I oftentimes first look at the gut. If we can do something to help with your gut, because your gut oftentimes is reflected on your skin. So can you see how craving sweets, feeling bloated, having fatigue, having ADD, inability to focus symptoms, headaches, and skin issues, sometimes can all be tied to the gut. So wouldn't it be great if we could help improve that? Because all of those things would definitely interfere with the focus of an athlete, with how the athlete is using food, and how the athlete is performing. So what can we do to work and help with that? And remember what I said, the gut is connected to the brain. So we also want to understand that depression, anxiety, all of those things are connected. They're very real. It's called GAPS, Gut and Psychology Syndrome. And there's books about it, and there's definitely ways that we can help with it. And the way that we do that is healing and sealing the gut. And I would say when we heal and seal the gut with diet, with mental, with mental health things such as mindset, great things like meditation, we can really make a difference. So what are some of the good habits? Number one, especially in this day and age, washing your hands. Okay, we know that. Number two, so important to hydrate. Water, water, water. Remember, we prefer it to be water that is alkalized, okay? Water is so important. Number three is avoiding sugar. Sugar is such a culprit for so many issues. I'm going to show you some things that have sugar in it. You may be surprised, or the amount. If I showed you this Mountain Dew, this particular bottle, and you want to learn how to read labels, you have to do the multiplication when you look at serving sizes. What if I told you that there are 19 teaspoons of sugar? 19 teaspoons of sugar in this Mountain Dew. Next, Gatorade. How much sugar do you think is in this one? 13 teaspoons of sugar in this Gatorade. And we're wondering, and sugar wipes out your immune system. So when you're consuming something like that, it's going to have a huge impact on someone. Not to mention if there's artificial colors and all these other things. How about a Java chip Frappuccino? 13 teaspoons of sugar. And let me add 13 grams of fat in this one. People are really consuming a lot of unhealthy calories. And then Coke. This can of Coke has 10 teaspoons of sugar. I'm not trying to make that one look like the good guy here. Okay, all of the things have sugar, and if you can, you want to avoid simple sugars like this. I can show you examples of great carbs, but right now we want to avoid the simple sugars because that plays such a detrimental role and it really has a huge impact, and it can feed yeast if you have that going on, as we just talked about. The things that we want to increase and improve are whole foods, and we talked about those already. And the ones that we talked about, alkalize. Again, the dark green leafy vegetables and all those great things like that really is going to make a big difference. The next is supplementation. And when you choose your supplementation, I'm just going to recommend that you choose whole food supplements so that they don't have sugar, they don't have artificial sweeteners. You can recognize the foods that are on the label when it shows you what's in there, and always look for those good things like that. I am going to briefly give you a few good examples of some good carbs. I'm looking to see how we're doing with time. And let's see how we're doing with time, and I can see what I can show you next. I can't see that.
I can. Okay, so we've got about, because we want to have time for questions.
Sure.
Maybe it's 2:45. 5 more minutes.
Okay.
Will that work?
That will work perfectly.
So we can.
I don't know how I said it, but I just wanted to make sure. I want to show you something if I can. I don't know if any of you can see how this over time is turning more alkaline. And that's because the supplement that we used here is time released, because we don't want to alkalize the important acidity in your stomach. So I am going to show you this one, just so that you know that Alkalite is a patented product, but the bottom line with this is 2 of these capsules are equal to 10 servings of kale when it comes to alkalizing. And that was in the pH2O drink that I used here, but understand that as a pre-workout, this is going to be time release, so it's going to help alkalize in a time release fashion, as you can see here. Briefly, what I'll show you here now then, and if anyone has questions about that, I can always answer them. I didn't want to promote supplements, but you do have to supplement as an athlete. And so find one that works. If you have questions, I can always share that with you in the future. But you do want to eat good, healthy carbs. So let me give you some good examples. Nuts and seeds, beans, okay? Because we don't want to have the simple sugars, but we want to have good carbs. You're an athlete, you need to pay attention to carbs. We can talk about different types of beans. I oftentimes will make, this is a 15 bean soup, lentils, and there's so many ways that you can work with that. If you're going to have rice, you want to have brown rice. And if you're going to, you can use something like hummus, which is really a protein made from chickpeas. Chickpeas, I think, are here. But if you wanted to have some vegetables, you can dip them in the hummus, and you're getting some protein, and you're getting some better carbs. You can find other things as well. But I do want you to know that there's so many great sources of foods. So let me summarize, since we're just finishing up then, on what we said, on what we were talking about, just so I can finalize it. And I so appreciate all of you who are on here today. Number 1, we said with athletes, your goal is to improve athletic performance, which means extending the time to fatigue and reducing the time for recovery. That's your goal, and that's important. The habits that you want to work on and that are within your control right now are the ones that are going to support your training and support these goals. So number 1, nutrition. And we talked about why. We talked about why acidity is not good. We talked about great sources of foods that are alkaline that will support you in that, because we want to improve your structure. We want to help you be lean, not store excess toxins in your body, and we want to, most importantly, increase oxygen delivery to your muscles. And that's going to help you in every single way. Really, really important. We want to reduce sugar, and these things are just they're going to knock out your immune system, and they're going to affect everything. Digestive health is important. About 6 small meals a day making sure that you're doing everything that you can. If you can alkalize, make sure you're getting electrolytes. Right now, vitamin C, again, is very important. You want to get it in a food or a whole food supplement. You want to make sure you're getting zinc. You want to make sure that all of these little things that can make a big difference. And sleep is one of the most important things for recovery. I brought a few things just to show you with sleep. Sometimes people want to use Epsom salts bath. There's some lavender oil. The Epsom salt is magnesium. So I will oftentimes have athletes, you can use a magnesium roll-on or a magnesium supplement to sleep. And that's going to really help you to really rest, because the recovery time is so important. That's going to happen when you're sleeping. Lastly would be the protein, because protein, those amino acids, the supplement that we use has non-denatured whey protein, and that's going to boost glutathione, the most potent antioxidant in your digestive system. So that's something else that's really helpful when you're choosing supplements. Make sure it's not just how much protein, it's the quality of the protein. And lastly, and not least, of course, is how all of this, your digestive system, impacts your brain, and the mindset is what's going to help you manage this stress and maintain control. And Joni is the perfect one for all of that, as we know. Thank you so much. I look forward to receiving any questions that people have.
I have some questions.
Sure.
Yeah, go right ahead.
So hi, I'm Chelina German. I'm a swimmer, and I've worked with Joni in the past. Everything you said was monumental. I'm a history major, so even though I try to understand chemistry, I usually don't. Unbelievable. Like, thank you for your presence. Unbelievable.
Thank you.
I have two questions.
It's such an honor to be here with all of you.
Yeah. Wow. Oh my gosh. So two things. I struggle a lot with sleep. I've always been someone that like thinks that like being a night owl is how you like get back all those hours to work hard. And I was curious, you mentioned sleep. Is it true that in your sleep you remove acid, or how do you balance the acidic nature of like daily life in your sleep?
So a couple of things. You want to be that's a great question, by the way. And it's, I think from what I'm seeing, it's a very common thread with a lot of athletes is that if sometimes they're not getting enough sleep. And if they are getting enough sleep, they're oftentimes not getting a deep enough sleep. And that REM sleep is very, very important for your body to repair and recover. And it does help detoxify. But we don't want to just rely on sleep, of course, to detoxify. You want to do all that you can to detoxify throughout the day, or I should say alkalize throughout the day. So that's why all of these things are so important to, number one, recognize what's in foods so that you can avoid the acidic ones and replace them with whole food supplements, or whole foods that can help you alkalize. But to your question, during sleep, your body does try to detoxify and it does try to repair. And alkalizing, if your body is alkaline, it's going to help that even more, especially when your body's storing a lot of those toxins in the fat cells. You want to get those out. But when getting them out, I didn't give an amount with hydration. Hydration is very key to make sure that your digestive system is not getting clogged, so to speak. Because sometimes when people are detoxing like that, if they're not drinking enough water, they can get constipated. I definitely don't want that to happen, because then if you're constipated, you're now reabsorbing the toxins. So hydration is key. So if your body does do that repair during the night, you need to make sure you're hydrated so that it can detox fully, during the day. There's other ways too with detoxing, and like we do an ionizing foot bath, a foot detox, but we won't get into that right now. So I think that if you focus on the things during the day, I'm sorry, Joni, what?
Were you about to mention how much hydration?
Yes. So with hydration, usually I tell people starting with about half of their body weight in ounces. For athletes, I usually say at least 1 liter for every 50 pounds. So you really, and sometimes you need more than that. If you're outside, you're a swimmer. If you're outside, you may need more than that. My boys play hockey, it's a little bit different. But the difference, the bottom line is, if you're consuming really good foods and supplements, kind of make sure your urine is clear so that you're not just pouring everything out into your urine. And that's kind of often a good parameter to know that you're hydrating enough. But sleep is important. These things may help. And a good supplement. I take a supplement, and it does have some melatonin, but it's not pure melatonin. I don't want the melatonin fog that sometimes people get. And I prefer to use, the daylight. And the daylight is very helpful because, it's working on your pineal gland, but also reducing screen time at night. If you can go at least an hour, not on your phone and no screen time, that helps to not overstimulate your pineal gland, and then you're going to hopefully sleep better because you're so right on. The deep sleep is important. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for reinforcing that too. That screen time, I love that.
Yes.
So, Mary Ann, you did get a question, or there was a general question about what a suggestion for, if you don't mind, hold on, I'm just going to read it. Can you suggest a good brand of slow release alkaline drops? And I just mentioned that I use Yoli products, and I have can we do the math? I think that's 3 years now, right? So 3 years ago, and 25 pounds heavier with lots of joint pain and problems, I started putting into action, thanks to Dr. Mary Ann here, all of these things that she's suggesting. And that included, for a brief time, giving up some things that I really enjoyed, coffee and occasionally wine. And I just didn't realize any of this, to be honest. I thought I was a, quote, healthy eater, and I was certainly trying, but I didn't understand the science behind actually what I was putting into my body. And so it's been invaluable to me, and also passing it along to athletes, even just brief suggestions, not everything that you've taught. I think they need to hear it, or they need to have some, maybe even a simple outline to follow that we could put together. And I think we've got some projects in the future, but just saying that. Also, I struggled with the acid, like being a problem. And so I started trying to just avoid certain foods, but that wasn't enough. I didn't understand that even some of the good things that I was doing, the running, like the exercise, was producing acid. I knew about the lactic acid, but I just didn't fit those all together in my mind about how much acid was building up. And, I always thought I was, okay, acid is coming from a bad place, or it's a bad thing. And, but certainly I think you can all see from this demonstration why it matters and what the benefits are of taking the time to put these things in place for athletes. And I know parents will be, especially of younger athletes, because we've got, our older athletes are going to do this on their own. The ones that are invested, the ones that, in my podcast with Annie Laser, she talks about how I did all the right things, and, she's in a great place right now, but I ate well, I avoided certain things. So she was informed, and she took that information and she put it into action. So, but I know parents that ask me repeatedly about this, and I'm certainly much more informed now personally, but I always hand it off to the experts, and you're certainly one of them. And we really appreciate your time today, and all that you're looking at, that beautiful table, and I know all that it took to prepare for this. Having visuals is fantastic. Is that millet and flax, by the way? Are those millet and?
Yes.
One of my favorites. See, I'm catching on to this good stuff. But just, I made tons of notes that I can put into, just a summary of all of these different talks and it was just an amazing presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And if someone has questions about, the supplements, they can look into supplements themselves, or if they want to see the ones that we use, just contact me. I'm happy to help. Joni as well knows. Contact one of us, and we'll be happy to direct you. Or I usually, when I meet with someone, I talk about their health goals. When I know what their health goals are, we then look at what products you can use to to assist you in your food intake to meet your goals and to optimize function so that you optimize performance. And it's really fun when you see the difference. When someone like Joni is breaking personal records and you just see the results, it really is fun. So thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate being a part of today. What an amazing thing you put together.
Thank you so much.
So much.
Hey, thank you for being here. Thank you for saying over and over again about how I'm breaking personal records. Repeating that just makes me want to do it even more. And plus, it ties into, well, and I was the first speaker today, and I was talking about, broadening and really realizing your full identity. And so now I'm going to add to my I am statement that I suggested earlier. I am someone who breaks personal records.
There you go.
So there you go. So my list is getting longer, and I hope as people view this, whether they do it live or recorded, that they'll continue to add those I am statements to realize that there are many, many ways that we can feel good about ourselves right now, and internalize that to deal with all the maybe negative things on the outside, or maybe closer to the inside, but we can be okay. So thanks again. Thank you again so much.
God is in control, and we're all doing our best.
And one more thing before I introduce Ron, hopefully his picture will pop up on here soon. There he is. Say hi to Ron, Mary Ann, because
Hi, Ron.
Dr. Mary Ann Musa, Ron. And can you just tell everyone how they can get in touch with you, because you're so specialized, and I won't be able to answer their questions on this. Do you mind telling everyone how they can get in touch with you, or the best way to get in touch with you?
Are you talking to me or Ron?
I'm talking to you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't sure. I'm like, when he came on.
We want to know how to get in touch with him too.
Yeah, no problem at all. You can reach me through my email. It's Dr. Mary Ann Musa at AOL.com.
And that's M-U-S-A.
M-U-S-A. MaryAnnMusa at AOL.com.
Thank you so much again. I really appreciate it.
I'm happy to talk to anyone that would like to chat.